Marvel. Let's absolutely talk Marvel, and we got Mike here today because what the hell's going on at Marvel, Mike?
I wish I knew right now, man. It is an absolute, I don't know.
So I will first one. Let's talk about the anti-Semitic stuff because there's an Indonesian Muslim who is an artist, Adrian
Siaf
Ardian. Sorry, that was my tablet. But yeah,
Anna Kendrick.
So he was the artist on X-Men Gold, and decided that this was a good time to do some really messed up stuff. He who is it? Is it Kitty Pryde in there?
Yep.
Kitty Pryde is in one of the panels, and right next to a jewelry sign. But the way it's kind of configured, it's like Jew, which apparently she's Jewish in the comic. I was unaware of that.
Okay.
And then there's Colossus is wearing a T-shirt that says QS 551, which is a reference to the Quran.
Right.
And I don't speak Arabic, so I can't do a very good translation for you.
Hey.
But apparently the meaning behind it is saying that Arabs, or not Arabs, excuse me, that Muslims should not trust any Jews or Christians as being leaders.
Right.
Huh.
And apparently that this is all a big controversy because in Indonesia right now, there's actually a Christian leader who's in charge of all these Muslims, and it's a big thing in that area. I am not doing that whatever's going on over there justice.
Right.
If you're really interested in it, you should check it out. But just to give you context, that's essentially what's going down.
Right.
And
this dude,
yeah.
and here's the thing, it is that fine line where artists do this all the time. And, I mean, every artist, every comic book artist, hell, look at every movie, there's always stuff in the background. And I think is what happened here is this guy, I can understand, wanting to, get your message out there. But I think, unfortunately, he made it too blatant, and even in his defense, in his follow-ups, Twitter and all that stuff, he was very emotional about it and very, adamant that, there's nothing wrong with his faith and his religion. And
it didn't seem like he apologized for anything.
Yeah, it was just more or less, I think he kind of reacted in the wrong way. And I remember one that more or less said, my career is over.
Yeah, yep.
And it's like, I think he's too good of an artist. I would certainly hope he can still get work in the future. You know, I think you just have to learn to draw it back, and it's like nobody's a lot of people obviously have issue with the Muslim deal and everything, but for the most part, look at how many Bible verses are they're mentioned everywhere. And in this case, the context definitely was not the right. This wasn't the right platform. This was not the right, and not defending it didn't, I don't want to say like, it didn't seem like there was any hate behind the what do you want to say, behind them, or there was no motive to the hate.
I think that was kind of where the water got muddy. And once again, I will repeat, I don't speak Arabic. I don't know. You know what I mean? This is kind of all secondhand information that I'm relaying. But from the people who have translated that, and you kind of got to know the history. There's a good Bleeding Cool article on it. You got to know the history, and in Indonesia they have a different translation of the Quran, just like there's different translations of the Bible.
Right.
And in Indonesian, like kind of what this means and what it means in the other versions of the Quran is he apparently meant it in a way that it's just, you shouldn't let these other religions rule you.
Well, yeah.
And apparently it's either in the Arabic version of the Quran or in that Indonesian one that it doesn't translate as cleanly as that, and that it's more of a violent, more no, you don't let them rule you no matter what, and that's a reason to take up arms and things like that, which, and once again, no judgment, because every holy book has
Correct.
You know, has things like that in it. But yeah, it's very... He meant it one way, but you can't... I guess my thing is you can't put your meaning on something when other people can translate it so easily to be something else. You can say, well, I meant it this way, but that doesn't mean people are going to take it that way.
No, and like I said, I think had he been a bit more subtle about it, it could have easily slid. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think for the most part, I don't know, I guess he handled it as well as he could. And we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. You know, I mean, are they going to... Is Marvel going to spend the time and money to... You know, to retract it and reprint and all this, and
yeah, they have.
You know, well, I know, they're
the copies that have been shipped out of X-Men Gold #1, and then everything else that's coming out, any reprints or anything, and the digital version too. That's
supposedly
those references.
And then he had
2
and 3. Issue 2 and 3 was already ready to roll. So we'll see.
So God knows what he hid in those.
Yeah. We'll see.
I bet they're pissed at him though. I bet they're like telling him like, you better tell us everything you hid in that book.
You're right. And yeah, we'll have to see it when they drop. See. Of
course. What does he have to lose now?
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
you hope that he already got paid for his work, and
because he also did work for DC too. He wasn't just a Marvel guy. Mm-hmm. He did work on Batgirl, if I remember right.
Right, and. No, I think he's a fantastic artist. I dig his style, and I hope that it, goes well. You know, I hope that he's able to get back to work and do what he loves, and that's always tough. You know, as an artist, where it's like obviously you want to share your opinions. You know, you want to be able to speak your mind on certain things, but.
Yeah, and
in this case, I think he should have thought about consequences first.
Yeah,
all this too coming right off the heels of Marvel making their comments about why their sales are dropping too.
Like,
Yep. The whole.
So that's pretty awesome for them. They were gonna look great as a company now.
Yeah.
Because they blame diversity for their slow sales.
Yeah. Right.
Apparently the 18 crossover events that went absolutely nowhere had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it. That, and I think and we've had this discussion quite a few times in the past where, how here's Marvel saying, it's like, women aren't buying our books and da-da-da-da-da, and it's the diversity thing's failing. And then I think at this point it's like, they need to understand their market, and you would think, you look at some basic analytics, and it's like, okay, your average customer these days is 35. That's the reality of it. You know, it's like men or women. It's like, we're not reaching that young audience. We're not reaching that 13-year-old audience anymore. And at this point, where again we go back to. How many hours did we sit here discussing, how we don't need different. We need new. But then it's the double edge of the sword because, Jesus, Batman kisses Superman and the world is over. It's like...
I guess I missed that issue.
Yeah. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It's part of this button crossover. the Flash Batman crossover.
But yeah, that's what the hell were they thinking, blaming it on diversity? But I will say this though, that their diversity feels very ungenuine. It just like that was one of my big criticisms with Green Lantern when they rolled out what's his name, Simon Baz. He felt like he didn't feel like a character. He felt like a situation to me. Like, that's all it was he's a Muslim guy that got mistaken for a terrorist.
Okay.
Like that was his story. He didn't feel like he was really a character. It felt like it felt like an episode of CSI where where they're like tracking it down and this is the guy. This isn't he's not who we think he is, and don't we all feel bad for judging him, and and it felt very. It felt terrible. And that's what a lot of their stuff has been, especially Marvel. It's just, well, guess what? We've swapped genders now. How are you gonna do that?
Yeah. Everybody's gay.
Everybody's gay and everyone's swapped genders.
Yeah.
And you can definitely have gay characters. You can have female characters. But
you know, we do need diverse characters. We do need that. And, but it's like, you know what? I don't need Iceman to just magically become gay. I don't need...
Well, let's be fair. Iceman.
Iceman. Yeah.
If you were going to pick one out, that was...
Well, I was reading an article about that on Crack, too, and they said that the thing about that is that diversity is not the skin color or the gender of the character. Diversity is the character's story.
Right.
Yep.
So if you want to have a diverse character that's, like, happens to be black, you need to tell their story and what they struggled with because of their skin color and all that. Like, it's not... You can't just slap it on them and be like, okay, this is diverse now.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you just get...
Hence, America. Did you guys read that book at all? No. So it's like, yeah, it's the Hispanic Wonder Woman, essentially, from Marvel. And it's like, and I mean, that's
Wonder Señorita.
Yeah, that book was one that they were just, and it was just awful. Like, it was just one of those books where it was like, oh, it's supposed to be, you know, girl power or whatever. That it's like, the art was terrible, the story was pretty mediocre, and it's like, well, because
then you just put different skin tones in people, and it's the same guys writing the material. You just get like whitewash diversity. Oh, it's the same fucking stories again, but their skin colors are different to the characters. It's nobody cares then. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's nothing interesting there.
And that's a good point too, Terrence. I think the term whitewash gets thrown around so much.
Jesus Christ, man! I will
it means nothing anymore.
In the last year, like if I for real, if I hear whitewashing or snowflake one more fucking time, like I can't handle that.
Because if you look like at let's look at like Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, everyone says that's whitewashing, debacle. But anybody who's worked on that movie, on that book or whatever, they all said no. You know, she's a robot. There's really not a race. In anime, they even kind of look like they're white. Yeah. So, you know, and like you said, they kept the story. They kept the fact that she was from Tokyo, all that stuff. So she was still essentially the same character.
She's a robot.
She was a freaking robot from Tokyo, so she's not really whitewashed.
Right.
But then, like you said, if you literally just make a guy black, but he's still from, you know, the suburbs, and he grew up, you know, with the same everything as the white character, well, that's kind of whitewashing.
Right. Well, to even set that aside, too, let's step back to something you had mentioned to me a long time ago, Kyle, and that was when the whole Iron Fist thing kind of happened, and, like, talking about Ghost in the Shell and all that. Like, I mean, sure, you know, people would love, like, a Asian guy to play Danny Rand.
Take a shot. Yeah.
Danny Rand. If you need a whiter name, let me know.
Or they would love, you know, an Asian character to play, you know, Scarlett Johansson's character in Ghost in the Shell, but name an actress that sells tickets that's not white right now.
Yeah.
Name an action star actress that sells tickets that's not white. I mean, it's a business thing. Like, so like when that sort of thing comes into play, like I understand where the companies are coming from and why they're doing it, but they're also not putting effort into changing things. So it's like it's kind of they need to try to put effort into making things more diverse, because then they can get themselves out of these situations down the road, you know.
And here's another thing that I want to kind of jump on that back of that was, you hear too the argument against what you just said always is, because the point is that they say, well, the marketplace, quote unquote, dictates, you know, what gets made. And they say, well, you know, white characters sell, that's why we make white characters. And they say, well, we want this. And they say that it's not just market driven, you have to give the opportunity. That's true. So the opportunity has been given, but here's the thing. If you sit there and you're one of these people that whine and complain and bitch about a lack of diversity and all these things, you have to buy the book.
Right.
You cannot complain about how somebody runs something or these movies and stuff like that and not support them. Lucy Liu's been making movies for goddamn ever. Have you seen every Lucy Liu movie?
Yeah.
You know, who was the chick in La Femme Nikita? Who was that? I'm sorry. She was in a bunch of stuff too.
Oh, the French movies.
Yeah.
I'm
talking about the American remake.
Oh, gotcha.
It was the Asian
Bridget
chick.
Fonda.
No, it wasn't.
But that was the other, the knockoff of.
You know what I mean? And then where was that The Help, that movie, whatever, where all the black ladies were scientists for NASA.
Mm-hmm.
All these incredibly, supposedly amazing movies. How are they doing at the box office?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you support diversity, by not going to these movies and stuff like that?
Or, Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures, though, God, I mean, I think they did pretty well with that one. That was the NASA movie.
Yep.
But then here's the thing. I mean, when you talk about global market, and this is one of our things that, for a bunch of hillbillies here in North Dakota, it is interesting, to see like how it goes out there. Like when we went to Get Out in the theater, opening night, and we were 4 of the 6 people in that movie. And I don't even think it was in the theater here for more than a week. Yeah. And then it's like, I thought it was a great movie. I mean, it was a fantastic movie. But then it's like, you look at here, it's like, okay, here you get a black led cast in a 99.8%, white bread community. Yep. And then, like, I think even the other 2 people in the theater were just confused. It was just like, what is this movie about?
When's Tyler Perry showing up?
But outside of here, because it's, when you look at that big market, where how do you change it? I mean, Hollywood's always been white. Mm-hmm. I mean, it has, and that is a fact for 100 years. I mean, it is that is what it is, and there's so much talent out there, and there's many talented actors and actresses, and it'd be great if we could somehow turn those tables. And
so to even go one step deeper, further, whatever you want to say, like on this too, this comes down to another issue that we've been having in Hollywood lately, and that's Hollywood hiring these indie directors, these indie darlings, to direct their blockbuster flicks, and then tell them, hey, you're going to direct it like we're going to tell you to direct it, though. Yeah. Like you hire a director for their vision, but then you tell them how to do it, and you say, "Oh, we don't like that. You got to do this." Like, well, you got to give them a chance, though. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to do. You have to. Like, you want to change the industry, you got to give other people a chance at some point. But then, like, you were saying, the people that are complaining about the problem need to also support that chance.
And also, kind of back on Marvel and diversity, you could say, though, that those movies have been very diverse in terms of, they've definitely introduced, it's no secret. It's mostly a white cast, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But look at Thor. What's his name? Idris Elba. Idris Elba. Mm-hmm. That character was originally white, and Idris Elba can play any character as far as I'm concerned. Yep, he can be absolutely. He could be Thor. All right. That'd be cool. All his family's white though. Don't question it. It's Idris Elba. I'd watch that. And then Denzel could be Loki. Yes. In fact, I want to see that version of Thor, too.
That'd be awesome.
Great. Parallel universe. But, look at Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. Yeah. His friend, both his friends in that movie was an African-American and then an Asian guy. Right. You know what I mean? So, like I said, there's still a lot of white people in it, but...
Yeah, right. They're slowly.
But they're trying to include diversity in those things where they can. Mm-hmm. So, that's kind of another one on Marvel where they're saying, diversity's not selling. Well, it seems to be doing okay in your movies.
Right. And again, too, like when you look at, with Defenders coming down the pike, then we'll see what how they handle that, because then that'll bring, a lot more villains in, a lot more, because
Luke Cage. Who didn't love Luke Cage?
Oh, God, yeah. Fantastic. And I hope that they can keep that rolling.
And that was a prime example of when diversity's done absolutely right, because that was a black show. Yes. That was a black show, and it was fantastic. Oh God, yeah, because it was so just good story, good actors, good everything. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the key. Is they have to, again, you find that balance of your audience. You understand your audience and who are the people actually. Right, sitting down,
because intriguing characters and good stories are universal.
Yeah, one was people concentrating on the wrong things too. Like Doctor Strange. So he had his 2 main side characters were African and Asian, whatever, and then everybody concentrated on Tilda Swinton's character being she's white, but in the comics she's not.
Or being a woman and she's white.
Yeah, being a white woman, but in the comics it's supposed to be an old Asian man. Like okay, but we have like other diversity going on in other places. So like let's not concentrate on the negative. Let's concentrate on the positive that we got. You know. Like,
but we got a woman, and kind of wasn't, if I remember right, in Doctor Strange, wasn't it kind of like a little racially insensitive the way that the Master was portrayed?
I believe so. Yeah.
Like kind of who has Fu Manchu? Wasn't that Iron Fist? Whose villain was Fu Manchu?
Oh, there was oh yeah, I think he was in. Because with Mandarin and.
Yep.
Yeah, because Fu Manchu was pretty
racist.
Yeah. Like, there's a reason we haven't seen him yet, and we probably won't.
Yep.
Because literally he's called Fu Manchu.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I think the problem really is on both sides. The studios need to start trying to take more chances and filling out that diversity gap, but people need to try and support it and not concentrate on the positives, on the things that we're getting and all that, not just the negatives and all this, you know, like.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Well, hopefully they'll figure it out this year and get back on track to, I don't know.
Making, once again, and I feel that Marvel has not done a good job in their comics of being welcoming.
Right.
You see a lot of number ones,
number ones, man, every 3 months.
That's the problem. Plan. Is that
it's going to be every 3 to 6 months right now? I fear. I think I think this is their new trend. This is their.
And there's too many books, and like I feel like I said, like the new X-Men. Like, I'd love to jump back on an X-Men book, but I don't like any of the teams because it's not the teams I know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now I have to be introduced to a whole new team of characters.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but now my investment isn't just, let's pick up with the classic team that I was a fan of. Now I got to learn all these new characters from, that are dealing with situations from all these terrible crossovers that I didn't want to read.
Right. And the oversaturation is unfreaking believable right now, and that is one thing. I mean, I'm, from a retailer and reader standpoint, getting just destroyed. And I mean, we can't keep up. There is no viable way right now for this industry to sustain itself, and I find it absolutely fascinating that nobody. I mean, these guys, billion-dollar companies here, or million-dollar companies, being run by billion-dollar companies. And you would think you could look at the paperwork and just go, it's like, okay, in April we're going to offer you, let's say if we talk retail numbers, I'm going to offer you $10,000 worth of product. And then in May, I'm going to offer you $18,000 in product. And then in June, I'm going to offer you $25,000 worth of product. And it's like, awesome. So where do they expect us to come up with that extra $15,000, over the course of 2 months? And it's like, and we're seeing this. I mean, shops are closing, and, I'm on that bubble as well, where it's like, we cannot keep up, where they keep expanding and all new number ones and all these great events. But it's like, okay, if last month you sold me, we'll keep it even. We'll just say, okay, you sold me, 100 copies of something. Or, we'll say we had 100 titles on the shelf last month, and then this month you're going to offer me 175 titles. Next month you're going to offer me 250 titles.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, well, I had 100. I have 100 to sell. Mm-hmm. How do you expect me to just magically come up with more money to buy more of your product?
And why? And we've got
$5 an issue, $10 an issue right now.
We've hit this before. And why do they feel the need to reinvent the wheel that they do it? Why are they not going with the season or the yearly method? Why is there
just run a January through December schedule? I think that
because what does everybody do? What does everybody know? Everybody knows Netflix.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody understands the concept of seasons and episodes, and that's how we digest media now.
Right.
So why are these companies not changing to do that? And DC, for the most part, kind of has, because they have those.
They're keeping Rebirth on track now.
They're keeping Rebirth on track, and and it's really close now. Those volumes come out.
Yep.
Just as soon as, because I think Volume 2, either Volume 2 or 3 of Batman just finished up, and Volume 1 and 2 are already coming out. So they're constantly coming out in those trade paperbacks, which are probably doing pretty well. But at the same time, those are your seasons.
Yep.
So you can jump right on that, and if you want to get into it, it's pretty easy and it's pretty friendly because I think Batman is at issue. Well, most of the DC are around issue 20.
Yep, 20 to 22 right now.
You can easily get the back volumes.
Yep.
And get into it very easily without knowing it. But with Marvel, where the hell do you start?
Yeah.
That was the thing we talked about the other night too. Like, when somebody says, "I'm starting to read Batman," what should I do? You don't say start at issue number. You say read this storyline, then read this one, then read this graphic novel.
Read long
and you see, out of all of those, you'll find a few elements you like, and then pick up on those and try to move forward from that. Like, you got to kind of create your own bubble of what you want to read, but you give people a storyline, a whole season. Simple, easy to understand, easy to pick up, digest. It's just that's how it should be done.
Keep it rolling and. Yeah, I don't get it these days. I honestly, our whole industry is just beyond backwards. And, I hate saying it. I hate even contemplating, getting out of this business. But it's like, if this were any other product, no way in hell could a business survive.
Yeah.
And we have a very loyal fan base. We have... like the money they're making is obviously driving these decisions, but I don't understand how they can just expect readers to keep putting up with it.
Well, and that's the other thing of it too, is how many people do you think are buying comics just because that's what they've always done? Like, nobody wants to start buying comics.
Yeah,
people are doing it just because that's what they know.
And Marvel too, like, wasn't their drop off something like 40%? Like, it was huge.
Over the last year or so, yeah, I noticed they did see a big sink, but then there's still this whole Inhumans thing and the whole now starting this month is the what is it, Secret Empire or whatever. This is supposed to, throw the quotations up there. It's going to change the Marvel universe forever. And
oh my God, they need a rebirth. They need a reboot. They keep saying, our continuity, you'll never see us do whatever. Yeah. You've messed it up so much.
Yeah.
That I think it just needs
nobody's
to go
got
back.
the marker on the board right now. Here's start. Here's point A. Our goal. Our goal.
And even though every book in the New 52 wasn't a home run, it was such a great starting point, and it was so great to go back with those characters to a younger age and feel like you could revisit the part of the mythos that you liked and kind of expand upon it and make it a little bit different.
Right.
Like, especially, obviously, I read all of the Batman, and what Scott Snyder's run was absolutely amazing.
Right.
You know what I mean? He retold the story of Batman, and it was pretty much the same, but he just made it different and interesting.
Yep.
Which is kind of, who's the guy writing it now? King?
I believe. I'll have to look. I'm not caught up on any of my DC yet this season. I feel bad. I have to get on that. I did get Batman Volume 1. I got Superman Volume 1. So they're in my stack. I got
awesome.
But
yeah, that's what Marvel needs to do. And why, I understand that you're pissed about Fox, but why are we pulling the X-Men away from the rest of the Marvel universe? Why is the Fantastic Four gone?
Right.
I understand that they weren't selling well, but can they still not be in the universe?
Jesus, if Guardians
can we not just have an Avengers title and have them in it?
Yeah. Have them show up, have Reed show up. And here's the thing that's driving me nuts when you talk to the reboots and stuff, or, they should relaunch at this point. But I think what is completely deflating any of that idea is the fact that half their series in this last year aren't making it. They're not making it past 6 issues, 8 issues, 10 issues. And then it's like Star-Lord's been rebooted 3 times, 4 times in 6 years now, 7 years. And then Rocket and Groot, they still can't decide what to do with. And over these last few months, how they broke up where Guardians, Eric, got to build up the Guardians hype. There was no reason, with this movie coming out here in a couple weeks, there was no reason whatsoever to all of a sudden offer us 6 Guardians titles.
Yep.
Guardians by itself, it's a good book, but
nobody's that hyped for the movie.
Hardcore, like, people aren't coming in asking for Gamora or Drax or Star-Lord or Rocket or Groot. we did not need 5 individual titles to come out of there. And I hope that they're the right people are looking at the numbers right now, and I hope that but I don't know, to totally backpedal on that, this movie's going to come out and it's going to make their 700, 800 million.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, if this is truly the movie of the summer, then this could be another $1 billion.
I think it's going to be $1 billion. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
I would
this
say
is
so.
global. This is going to be.
I think the first one not only did well in theaters, but I think it did really well once it hit.
Oh yeah, God, yeah.
Once it hit home and everything, and then people were like, "Oh, this isn't just another Marvel movie. This is kind of something special.
This is a new world." Yeah, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah,
I know it's going to be great. And but it doesn't warrant 6 comic books. Right?
No.
But what was working in the Marvel universe? What were the books that they were selling that were working? Star Wars. And what have they been doing with Star Wars?
Add a title a month.
Well, they have been adding titles, but the Star Wars run is still going.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They had a starting point. They went with it. They got a whole bunch of people into it, and they stuck with it.
Yeah.
You know,
and now we're expanding.
And now I've heard of stuff
titles,
like Vader Down and stuff like that, like a whole Darth Vader book, and those all seem like they're great ideas and that they're all new and fresh, and at least they somewhat stick with them, like you said, for a while, because Vader had his own series for at least a year or so.
25 issues, and then he's coming back again in July. We've got, I mean, even Poe, that one's made it into a year now. Darth Maul's just a short series. We got another, what they announce?
Which the short series are fun, but you got to have your on-running.
Yeah, but Star Wars itself,
titles,
30 issues already, and I hope they keep that alive. I hope they keep that rolling. With Vader, I'm not too sure what the approach will be. We'll have to see when the story comes out, because this is supposed to be this is supposed to be the Anakin to Vader story that we've been waiting for, and so we'll see what happens there.
George Lucas. You already tainted that water.
I hate sand.
Yes.
But how... That's just how can you not see... Well, what we're doing with Star Wars is super successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Why don't we do that with our other books?
Yeah. But I think the thing there is that people... Star Wars is... That is your walk-in off the street.
Mm-hmm. And I'll admit that it's not that. But.
And that is what works there, where to get somebody that comes in off the street going, "Hi, I've never read a comic book before. What's good?" And right now, I honestly have a really hard time recommending Marvel titles.
Yeah.
And I will, not just because it's in front of me, but I will still, Turtles is still my number one recommendation to anybody that walks into the store.
As it should be.
Just, and I will commend IDW for doing what they're doing as we come up on issue 70.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there are still so many people out there that are completely clueless to this industry in this current model, where, like I said, for somebody to come in off the street for any product, a consumer should be able to come in and go, "Oh wow, look at this product. I need that product in my home right now."
Stan Lee, you write every book like it's somebody's first.
Yeah, but then, like we've had that discussion, is that's why I don't want that. I never in my life want to see the death of Batman again, or Batman, the death of the Waynes,
right.
I never ever want to see. The
pearls,
or Superman's ship crashing or whatever. I mean, but you have to. That is the only way to bring in. But then this is where all of our conversations get swirled up, because it's like we want new, but I don't want old.
But at the same time, that's what's great about it, though, is these characters are all so established, like not just in comics, but in society and pop culture,
right?
That you don't need to revisit that. People know the pearls. They know the Superman's ship. They know all that. So like that kind of stuff, you can. Like that was one of my, continuity and other things aside. One of my biggest complaints about Batman versus Superman, the movie, was that we spent like 8 minutes in this fucking alley scene, like during the opening credits, like watch, and then when they get to Batman later in the movie, he goes through the whole flashback again. I was like, we saw this already, this movie. Like, I don't need to see it twice in one movie. That's fine. Like,
it's cursed.
Yeah, it's just. And I saw it the other 5 times you rebooted this movie.
Right. Yeah. Like, there are certain things you don't need to go back to because people just know it, you know. But so you touch on it real quick, say, yep, you know, Batman's upset, sad, whatever. He's good. And then you expand, you know, other parts of the mythos. You expand your villains more, you know. You expand your other, you know, how Batman's gadgets work, you know, that kind of stuff. That's the stuff I want to see personally, is like get into the world more, not just this character. Like, and again, too, that's one of the biggest things about Batman is like Gotham is a character, you know, the whole city like is its own being. So here's my brilliant idea for Marvel, because they listen and as they should. So everyone goes to see these movies. My question is, why is everyone not walking out with a comic book?
Right.
There you go.
And we've been saying that forever. Like, even at the end of any of these, like, want to know more about, you know, Thor? Visit your local comic shop.
You don't even have to do that. I would say the first 2 weeks these movies are out, you know, if you go to the movie, you get a copy of this comic book.
Yep.
You make it like a collector's item. And if they had started that, you know, we'd have people that were like, well, I got to go see them all in the theater. I got to have all the books.
Yeah.
You know, make it a souvenir.
A number one.
Don't just make it a whatever. You know, make it a souvenir. Make it the start of your ongoing.
Yep.
There you go. The person walks out with issue number 1. Even if you get 3% new readership of enough tickets that are, you know, of a movie that's selling $1 billion worth of tickets, you're starting to build traction with readers. Yeah. And even if that's the only book, I can't live in a world. I can't believe that you'd live in a world where somebody who wants to collect all of those books, all of those number 1s that they get from the theater, wouldn't want to at least explore something a little more and buy some more, if not back issues, trade paperbacks.
Right.
You can't tell me that would not entice them and that they would not look at that and say, hey, man, you know, I've got... And then they wouldn't think, you know, oh, I can just see it when it comes out on Blu-ray. They're like, well, I've got the set. You know, I have to... Because people love collecting the tickets. People will have, you know, they've got a stack of tickets from movies they've been to. Why not the comic book? I mean, if I remember when I was little, we went to the Jetsons movie and you got a little Jetson toy from it.
And Star Wars, I got the action figures.
Because those books cost them nothing to print.
More than less. I mean, and there's no reason. I mean, it's like, you know, like we're seeing publishers, or like with Free Comic Book Day. You know, I mean, we get away with 15 cents, 20 cents an issue. You mean to tell me, okay, you know, let's say Grand Theater here. He gets they get 10,000 copies of I don't know, say Guardians or
Guardians Volume 2, whatever.
Yeah, you know, of just that we'll go big, and it's like not to say, you know, 10,000 people in our town will go and see it, but you know, like you said, of let's say, you know, 5,000 of those, or if you go the 10%, you know, so we'll say 1,000 of those people walk out of there with a comic book. Okay, so you spent, you know, 10,000. What would that be? A little over $1,000, or you know, so or $5,000, 10,000 copies, right? 20 cents a piece.
Yep.
You know, I think maybe from a theater standpoint or from an industry standpoint, that's a $5,000 advertising write-off,
right?
And it could work. And then, if anything,
Here's
like this time of year, if they threw that out, and like personally, this is your prime opportunity where it's like you have Guardians coming out May 5th, day before Free Comic Book Day.
Oh God, yeah.
Even if there was one little blip, either before the movie or after the movie, and this is where Hollywood and our industry needs to come together. I mean, that's all, you know. If before Guardians, and it's like, be sure to visit your local comic shop on International Free Comic Book Day. One little. Give me 5 seconds, 10 seconds before the movie starts, or at the end of the, you know, somewhere after credits. Like, be sure to pick up your copy of Guardians or follow your favorite characters.
And here's even what they could do. You know, they have those those prelude books.
Yeah.
So you know, like Prelude to Thor 3 or whatever. Why is the Prelude not the first issue that they give you when you walk out of the movie?
Right.
You know, so I just watched Guardians 2. Now they give me an Easter egg for Thor Ragnarok, and I walk out with a copy of the first issue of the prelude. Is that's the word I'm looking for? Prelude. The prelude to Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then they're like, every month until this next movie comes out, we'll have another issue for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the story keeps going. So bam, I just saw the movie. I get to keep reading it, so I get to get caught up on it. It's always on the mind then too. It's always something.
And you're invested.
There. And you're kind of constantly invested. And then by the time that last issue comes out, now it's time to go to Thor and to get my next issue, so I can see, to the next movie.
Yeah. So Marvel and DC, if you're listening to us,
that's how are they not? How are they not walking out with? And you don't even have to have a regular, 26, 32 pages?
Yeah.
Whatever the books are now.
32.
How are they not walking out with 10, 15 page books?
Yeah,
that'd be easy.
A quick little blip. And,
It could be even cheaper, 10, 5 cents.
Yeah, do a 24 pager. I think that'd be fantastic.
And not that I want the theater to pay for it, but
that could be factored in. I mean, that really could.
Yeah.
That
could be factored into your
advertising budget.
To your price. But tell me that if any theater where you go, okay, you have to buy this many copies to show this movie, and it's Guardians of the Galaxy, you got any theater that's going to turn that down?
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, I got to spend $200 on these books to play this movie, but we're going to make $2,000 or $5,000, in showing this movie. So, we can definitely recoup that $200 cost. We'll probably recoup that cost in snacks on the first showing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Although
these days it would actually be interesting to see, or if there's a way for us to explore that, kind of get some opinions on theater, from a theater standpoint, and because I don't know, like with these, I know Randy, like at Grand, we had talked in the past, and some of these movies, I mean, that's why they're just getting hosed forever because all of a sudden their leasing fee, is in anywhere from $2,000, $5,000. I think the last Star Wars was, that was like a $5,000, $6,000. And don't quote me on that, but they paid an absurd amount, to get that movie here, and then plus, they're paying for every, that $10 ticket, and it's like the theater's seeing 3 of it, 4 of it maybe, and six of that $10 is going elsewhere.
Yeah,
and that's tough. And then but how do you figure that out? Somebody has to be willing to give up, and maybe that's the problem.
I think that is the problem.
Yeah, somebody's got to be willing to give up that couple extra $1,000 in advertising. But then at the same time, it's like for the money they spend on frickin' theater, like here we don't get to see it so much, but you think of those big markets, with the true multiplex theaters, your New Yorks and LAs, and I mean, what they spend on just their lobby advertising alone is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you want that 12-foot by 16-foot whatever to come over here? That's going to cost you an extra, $2,000 a week to keep your.
When the Incredible Hulk came out, they had life-size Hulks that they were sending to places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for the cost of that, they could have, you figure they spent a couple grand on each of those. They could have turned that into 1,000 Hulk comics, and I don't know. So if you guys are listening, give away more comics,
please.
Free Comic Book Day, May 6th. Get your taste.
And I feel like once again, so I just thought this was going to start out and this was going to be like a very short little thing. But as always, we
quick conversation before we go.
Conversation. We figure out how to fix everything in Marvel if they would just listen.
Easily.
Just listen.
They just listen. So